Hey, I'm Johnathan Wilkins, founder of Black Duck Revival. I'm here in Oregon with a bird me and my buddy Jimmy got last season. I'm going to show you how to take a very underutilized cut of meat and turn it into some world-class table fare. This is my version of the French classic coq au vin. So we're going to do a modern version of this for the busy hunter. If you got a family and you want to start this in the morning, you could have something ready in the evening when you get back home. So we're going to take 2 wild turkey thighs and we're just going to very generously salt and pepper them. And I'm going to show you like an amount of seasoning that you might think is too much. And I promise once we build all these different layers, it won't feel that way. One of the big differences between professional cooks in restaurants and home cooks is the amount of salt and the amount of butter that gets used. The stuff that you really like to go and pay top dollar for has a ton of salt and a ton of butter on it. All right, so our main aromatics in this are going to be the classic French mirepoix. We're also going to add garlic to this. Some people might say that's not a classic ingredient, but like I said, this is my version of it, kind of for a modern palate. So what we're going to end up doing is braising at a high pressure so it takes less time. But if you're doing this the more traditional way in a Dutch oven, you're still going to be introducing moisture, time, and heat, which is going to break these vegetables down. So I don't want to put these, I don't want to do a fine mince. I don't want to do a julienne on these. I want some kind of rustic chops on these so that they maintain a little bit of structural integrity throughout the cook. And then we have some options when we're making a sauce at the end. All right, white onion. All I'm going to do here is take that top off. Same with the beginning of the root system. And then okay, and then the garlic. If you wanted to, you could trim that bottom off and you could chop this up. But for this length of cooking and the amount of pressure and heat, I'm fine with just putting those in whole. All right, so we're just gonna add a drizzle of olive oil. We've got that Instapot set to saute. And then we're gonna place this meat side down, let the skin sit up top as it all kind of starts letting the heat get through it before we flip it over. Okay, so just a quick aside, the reason that we're searing that meat is not in an effort to seal the juices in like a lot of our grandparents and parents told us. It's really to introduce something called the Maillard effect. So that's like a flavor and smell profile that human beings really react to. It's that roasty, toasty, kind of comforting smell. It's baking bread. It's like the crust on a beautiful ribeye. It's also that roast on a coffee bean, you know, the best part of waking up. So all we're doing here is yes, I guess you could say we're introducing a little bit of a textural change, but by the time this cooks on that braised setting for so long, you won't really be able to tell the difference. But we are doing is adding a warm, nutty, slightly more complex flavor to this. If you were in a huge rush and you didn't have any time, you could totally just throw it in there, all the ingredients, and set it and forget it. But with like 3 or 4 minutes of extra work, we'll get something that's that much tastier. Okay, so now that we got that meat browned up in there, it's time to assemble all of our ingredients and set this and forget it. So we're gonna use kind of a dark red wine, something like a Merlot, a Pinot, a Cabernet. Any of that stuff would work. And we're gonna do, for a dish like this, maybe a cup of wine. I wanna put it in first to help deglaze that fond, all those stuck brown bits on the bottom of the pan. That's gonna add a lot of flavor. And we'll do that first, give it a minute for the alcohol to evaporate. And then we're gonna add an equal amount of stock. That can be either chicken, beef, or a wild game stock if you're choosing. We're gonna add all of our aromatics in there. We're gonna add a bay leaf. And then traditionally you would add some sort of like diced tomato or tomato paste. I'm just gonna use a spoonful or 2 of ketchup. That's gonna give me that tomato, vinegar, tiny bit of punch, and also a little bit of sweetness. It's gonna help mellow all these flavors out and help them meld together. That actually probably ended up being around a cup and a half or a little bit more. Ultimately, what I want to do is have my liquid level get to about halfway up that meat. All right, all those aromatics are going to go in there as well. And then a big spoonful of ketchup. If you don't want to use ketchup, you can use tomato paste. You can use maybe a third of a can of diced tomatoes. If you had a little bit of spaghetti sauce left, even something like that would work. Then we're going to give it a quick stir around just to incorporate everything. The lid goes on, and we're going to set this on a pressure cook setting for 3 hours. At that point, we'll check it, make sure it's fork tender. If it needs to go for 30 more minutes, 45 minutes, we can do that. You could also accomplish this same thing by setting an oven for 325 in a heavy lid, heavy bottomed pot, like a Dutch oven, enamel cast iron or something. And you could do this exact same process, leave it in the oven there for 6-7 hours. Or you could do a crock pot on high setting for 6 to 8 hours as well. Okay, so we've let time and heat and pressure do the work for us, and this is the result. I've got 2 beautifully fall off the bone, tender turkey thighs, and then we've got this really flavorful jus around it. All I've done is strained some of that liquid from that vessel. I put it in here and I reduced it about 65-75%. So I've got something much thinner, more intense. I'm going to finish that with a pat of cold butter, stir that up, get something really rich, velvety, and smooth. That'll be my plating sauce. And then I'll be serving it with a very classic combination, just string beans. And then here we have another classic dish. This is kind of somewhere between a boiled potato and a fondant potato. The middle of it will be really soft and pillowy. And we'll put all that on a plate with a little bit of the root veg from this. And there you have it.